What's up, guys? Mason the Rock Henderson here, and this is the Blacklist, Season 6, Episode 4, The Pawnbrokers. So, I don't even know what to say. Like, Reddington is just, he's unbeatable. He's unstoppable. Even in prison, he's like, I got this covered. It's fine. Whatever. I mean, a little bit of luck in the fact that he's able to send a rat outside, and just so happens a rat catcher is out there, or that, I don't know, a guy that I guess deals with some sort of infestation, and he's out there and he happens to find the rat with the note on it, and he just happens to be like, okay, yeah, I want $10,000. And if, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of coincidence that he managed to get all of that, which then gives him the ability to send Dembe out to kind of help the team get the information to get Baldomero out of there. So there is some luck. But still, I mean, the fact that he has this information and he knows how to use it, he's OP. He's too powerful. Like, the writers have given him way too much power. But of course, at the same time, he's not the bad guy, which kind of makes it interesting because you're not really sure whether to root for him or not still. Because, yes, he is not actually Liz and Jennifer's dad. At least they're implying that he's not. So he seems like a bad guy, but he's still helping. He's still getting these other bad people put away. He's still dealing with all of it. I mean, it really does. It's a very interesting concept. It's an interesting dilemma to have because you want to feel like, okay, that's way too OP. Like, you know too much. You have too much information and too much power. And yet at the same time, if he didn't, the show would be over very quickly because of all this knowledge and power, he's able to get out of all these situations unscathed, which is kind of interesting. I'll admit, and maybe it's something that if you watch this all back to back, at some point you would get tired of, like, oh my gosh, he has an answer for everything. But maybe it's because I'm coming back to the show after having not seen it for a while. But I'm really on board because he's doing a good job. Again, I think a lot of it comes out of James Spader's performance. Just the charisma that he has, he makes him interesting and fun to watch. So I think if his character was less interesting or not as fun and funny type of situation, I think he might be a little bit more grating on the nerves as much as he gets out of every situation. But anyways, yeah, all the stuff with him being in the prison, it was good. It was well written. I like the fact that he took this kid under his wing and is helping him out, which is very a Reddington thing to do. You know, this kid doesn't seem like a bad kid. Seems like he's deep down a good kid, probably caught up in something unlucky because, you know, sometimes kids, that's what happens to them. You know, they get stuck in a tough situation and they do something stupid and end up in general population in prison, which is not where they really deserve to be sometimes. So I think Reddington sees that and he's just trying to help him out. And of course, this guy has issues with him because he slept with his mom. And just, I don't know, all of it, it's a good build up, it's a good setup. None of it really, the only thing about it is just the fact that they gave him a cell that has a hole leading to outside. You know, that's very coincidental, but it's what you need to keep the plot moving forward and to keep Reddington from being killed. So it's what you got to do. But everything else felt very natural and very well written, so it's good to see. Everything to do with Samar right now, I'm still just not. I don't know. I'm not really on board with it, and it's just because I don't like this story of somebody is dealing with something that could affect their work, and in this episode, we see it nearly did. You know, when things go wrong and the Chinese show up, she's trying to dial 911. If the woman hadn't been shot so bad, and she could have been saved, and Samar took an extra minute because she couldn't dial 911 because of whatever's going on in her brain, that would be on her. Again, thankfully it's not her fault because the woman was, I mean, the woman was on death door. Where she got shot, she got, like, shot through the back. It looked like she got shot through the neck. So she was dead, even if Samar had dialed it correctly the first time. But in a life or death situation where maybe those few seconds do matter, it's going to be an issue if she's having these troubles, and instead of telling somebody, she just keeps it to herself. And I'm sure it's going to become an issue later on down the season, and people are going to be like, why didn't you tell us? Oh, I was scared I was going to lose my job. So what? This is life or death we're talking about. Who cares if you lose your job over something? I'm sure you'll be fine. But to deal with this type of issue in the line of work that you are and not tell anyone is stupid, it's selfish, and it's going to get somebody killed someday. So I just don't understand. It's one thing if you're working in a job where you do need to have the brain power, but maybe lives aren't on the line, but you need to keep the job because you're strapped for money. If that's your situation, it's more understandable. But again, she's working in a job where lives are on the line every day. People could die. Friends could die if she's not careful. And she's not saying anything about an injury that could be causing people to get hurt. So, I don't know. I don't like this storyline at all. I don't like what they're doing with it. I don't like what they're doing with Samar's character because of it. So hopefully it's over quickly. I'm hoping in the next couple episodes she finally admits, yeah, I'm having trouble, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, aside from that, stuff with Liz and Jennifer, kind of interesting, I guess. We're still not really sure what's going on with this document. I still don't know. I don't really have any clues as to who Reddington really is, who he used to be. Still doing a good job of keeping me guessing there. They have some information, they track it down. First set of information doesn't work, so then the guy that failed the first time looks at something else and he gets some more information that they'll look into. But for Liz, I don't know. I'm very interested to see where this story takes her next, because she's dealing with a lot right now. Like you could tell how conflicted she is in some scenes because of the fact that Reddington still means a lot to her. Even if he's not the man who used to be her dad, he's still somebody that she's dealt with for a while, and she still does see him as that kind of father figure. So even if he's not really her dad, he kind of has become her dad all this time, and she kind of has learned to live with some of his lies. So you can tell the struggle she's dealing with inside, whether she wants to say, no, I'm tired of being lied to, and figure out the whole truth, or whether she just wants to say, you know what we've got is good right now. And again, I do think a lot of that comes down to Jennifer is pushing. And because of that, I still struggle to really like Jennifer in this situation, because it still feels like she's forcing Liz to do something she doesn't really want to do. So I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it right now. Maybe my opinions will change as the season goes on, and the more we find out about what Red is hiding, maybe it will become very apparent. Like, no, Jennifer was right to push Liz to look into this because she needs to know the truth. But for where it is now, I'm kind of feeling like, even if he's not your dad, I don't think he's the one that killed your dad. You kind of remember that you're the one that did. So it's not like he's the guy who murdered your father and then took his identity. Like, that would be definitely something you would want to know. At least it doesn't seem that way. So at worst, he's just a criminal who saw an opportunity because your dad, wasn't really sure if he passed away or not, and so he took that identity and used it. Yeah, it's not good, but also look at what he's doing now, and even if he's not really your dad, he still cares about you, or seems to at least, and it's seemingly done a good job of kind of becoming a father figure for you. That's kind of where we are, which is why Jennifer, for me, at the moment, seems like she's in the wrong. Seems like she's pushing Liz into an area where it's like, she doesn't really need to go here right now. But again, if we go down the line and we do find out that Liz needed to take these steps and she really should have done this a lot sooner, obviously at that point I'll go, okay, Jennifer, I'm sorry. I was wrong to judge you in this way. But again, we'll see. I'm excited though. Still really good. I guess the pawnbrokers in this episode, they were okay. This seemingly sweet old couple that turns out to be pawnbrokers that are taking these government secrets and taking all these really high level things and selling them to criminals. It's just like, okay, sure. The acting from the guy though wasn't all that great. Like the woman was kind of intimidating. The guy wasn't really though, and there's that scene where Samar's like, I'll call 911, and then he's like screaming, help, somebody help. I'm just like, she's calling 911. What are you screaming help for? But that's not really his acting. That's more bad directing and writing, but whatever. But yeah, that's about it for this episode. So on to the next one. See you there. And now episode 5, Alter Ego. So this one definitely is setting up for a lot of interesting stuff going forward. So kind of seemed like might be something to do with these people that Dembe was talking about. I like that setup, the feel of, oh, these people are coming after Reddington, so they're getting rid of this guy so that way they can steal a vote and essentially get Reddington out of this group that he runs. So nice to see that little bit of a twist at the end, where it's not them, it's just these people who wanted the money, and so they happen to find his lost heir, and they're like, oh, we can take this money for ourselves if we kill him and basically kill the son and have this girl pretend like she's his wife and get pregnant from him. So I will say one thing that they didn't really clarify. I'm just like, is this what actually happened, or are you going to do something else with it? Is Deidre is like, oh yes, I have your baby. I'm just like, wait, so did you actually like confirm that you're pregnant, or are you just going to fake it and maybe get pregnant with somebody else and then say, oh no, it's his baby? And if so, how would you, like, they'd have to do a DNA test, I would assume, but I don't know. They didn't really confirm how far they went with the plan. But hey, who knows? Maybe they did figure it out beforehand. But yeah, a lot of that was just, it was interesting to see kind of this service as well. And it does kind of show where our society's gone, that we're so willing to just be like, oh, we'll lie, and there are a lot of people out there that would take advantage of this because they don't want to just tell the truth. They don't want to show the real them. They would rather say, no, you know what? I'm going to fake it. I'm going to pretend like I have a date. I'm going to pretend like I have a wife. I'm going to pretend like, I have something just to make sure that people don't find out the truth about me. And yeah, it's kind of a depressing thing to think about, especially at the end whenever Wrestler goes in and you're just kind of like, okay, this is being treated like a happy thing. Like he's going to go in and get a date that's not really a date. It's just pretending to be a date to his cousin's wedding. And this is a good thing. Like, I kind of like the fact that he was just like, no, I don't need that. Like, it made me respect him. So whenever he goes in and changes his mind at the end, kind of weakens his character a little bit for me. Like, he is somebody that has stood for truth for so long. And yeah, he's made some mistakes in the past. He's had some issues and some hiccups, but he's still the same guy. It was those moments of he was in a fit of rage or just really frustrated with the situation because it honestly, it went against his morals and it made sense for him at the time. But this is just, they make fun of him for not having a date to the wedding, and they make fun of him because he doesn't have any romantic prospects. And so he's just like, yeah, okay, I'll lie. That just seems weird to me. So didn't really like that scene. But aside from that, this whole alter ego service was kind of interesting the way they showed it and just kind of how sick it almost is. And they didn't really bash it or promote it. They just kind of didn't go either. And again, Wrestler at the end, it's hard to tell whether they were playing it as a happy scene or can you believe Wrestler's this far that he's willing to do this? But it seemed like they were kind of playing, it's like, oh, isn't that sweet? He's going to get a fake date. And I'm just like, that's not sweet. It's kind of sick. But everything else with Red and the trial, again, seeing him in court, kind of interesting, but also you kind of feel like he's being a little inhibited because he's in a courtroom, so he can't, I guess, put off the same charisma that he normally does because he does have to limit himself a bit more. So I don't know how many of these courtroom scenes we're going to have. I know now he's going to court to face the charges of treason and all of this stuff. I will say that scene at the end, I don't know. It's really hard to tell if he has any suspicion of Elizabeth or not, because he didn't get to hear the tape. So that obviously, it was the one thing that was kind of there. I wasn't sure if we were going to get to hear the judge listen to the tape so we could confirm. Because, I mean, Liz definitely said that she's the one that made the call, but just to kind of hear it, I guess, just to hear what she said. I wasn't sure if that would help give Reddington a clue. But that line at the end where he's like, I guess, maybe there's nothing out there to get me. Either that or I'm just facing a very worthy adversary. Just that line and the way he kind of looked at Elizabeth, it almost felt like that kind of like he knows more than he's letting on. Like he not in the way he delivered it, but just the timing of that delivery kind of makes it sound like he does know, but he's just not letting her know. Because even at the end, he's like, wherever I am, his fate will be sealed. And the fact that he said his fate, implying that he thinks it's a man, and of course he could be using the more gender neutral his as in just like the everyday man. But it really does make it seem like, oh, I don't actually know. But that could be a Reddington thing of being like, he knows it's her, but he's not going to let her know, and he's going to say his just to really kind of throw her off and make her think, oh, he thinks it's a guy? Whew, he doesn't suspect me at all. When in reality, he does, and he does feel like there's something going on with her. So, I don't know. That's one of the things that I love about Red as a character is you really never know what's going on beneath the surface. He always keeps his cards very close to his chest until the time is right to show what he has in his hand. So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see as this season goes on. Does he actually suspect something? All of this stuff that he's doing, what's it going to lead towards? All the blacklisters he's sending them to go chase down. What is it building towards? I don't know. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens next. But as far as this episode's concerned, I guess the only other thing is Samar is still lying about what's going on. Still not a fan of it. Just nothing much changes. Aram sees that she's doing these crossword, or I guess Scrabble-like games, because she's trying to do word repetition to see if that helps, cure some of the symptoms she's dealing with. So Rom sees that, and instead of telling him the truth, she's like, no, I don't want to play with you. I like playing by myself. And acts all like cold toward him. And I'm just like, yeah, that's great. You're already lying to him. Now you're going to push him away even more. That's smart, Samar. And then, of course, at the end, she's like, oh, well, I'll friend him to the game. I'm like, or you could just go tell him the truth, like a good person. But sure, just keep lying to him about your brain disability that you have right now, or brain injury, I guess is the better word. Disability is something you have from birth. No, disability is just something. Yeah, it would be a brain disability. Sorry, I'm just in my head. I'm like, is that right? Don't know the terminology exactly. But anyways, that's about it for this episode. So on to the final of these three. See you there. And now episode 6, The Ethicist. Oh boy. Yeah, this one definitely tackles some very interesting dilemmas with Liz, because we really are seeing just how much Red is he's really corrupted her. He's turned her into a version of himself. Everything she did in this episode, I'm thinking that's something Red would do. She wants to find this guy, this ethicist. She wants to track him down because he may have a connection to Reddington before he became Reddington, with the Hans Kohler. So she will do whatever it takes to make sure she's the first one there so she can talk to him. She gives him a fake number, travels there herself, and then disappears before they get there. And then when Wrestler asks about it, she says, I can't tell you about that right now, which is a lot of what Reddington was telling her, in the several first seasons. Basically, like, I can't tell you what's going on. So, yeah, it's really interesting to see how far Liz has gone down this rabbit hole to expose who Reddington is now, or who he used to be. She's willing to adopt those tactics to take him down, basically. And it's really intriguing to see what they're doing with her character this season. Because it kind of makes sense in a way. Like, you don't want her to travel down this dark road, but at the same time, if she's going to beat Reddington, she's going to have to become like Reddington, because he is very clever. So if she can't take him down using her normal tactics, she's going to have to take him down using a bit more subversive tactics, like he would do. So yeah, I'm really enjoying what they're doing with Liz this season. It's got me engaged, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do throughout the season, how they're going to grow her relationship with Jennifer some more and with Red. Because we saw in this one, I've had my issues with Jennifer being kind of bossy and feeling like she's the one pushing Liz to do stuff that she doesn't want to do. But we saw very clearly in this one, she's not as far as, oh, no, I want you to let this guy kill himself so you can get a name. Like, she wouldn't go that far. But she's worried about becoming that. She's worried about letting herself go that far. Because she saw clearly Liz is willing to do that now. So yeah, I really like that dilemma with her, and I hope they explore her character a bit more, because we still don't really know a whole lot about her right now. So I would like to see her character deepened, and not just this kind of shallow, like, no, I just want to find out what Reddington did, how he's connected to my father, why did he take his identity? Like, that's been her whole thing this season. But now we're seeing she doesn't want to go too far. She doesn't want to lose herself in this chase for the truth. And I feel like that does give her some more depth and some more character. So that's good to see. As far as Wrestler's concerned, again, his character always been kind of an interesting one to me because he is kind of the Boy Scout of the group. He's the one that doesn't want to do anything wrong. They've really stepped it up this season with him as far as how much he questions Reddington. And I think it came down to, him shooting the guy at the end of last season. Because he's always had his issues with working with Reddington, but he kind of learned to sort of accept it, to do the job, because there were results being produced. But there was kind of a point where he entered the gray area as well. And I think he kind of learned to respect Reddington because of that, and kind of lost that sort of mistrust, which I think was renewed when Reddington shot the guy at the end of last season. So this season, really feel like they made sure every single episode Wrestler throws out there at some point, and we're just doing this without asking, right? We're just going to do it without finding out why Reddington wants us to do this. Does anybody know why he wants this? Like, he's really questioning every single case. So I feel like they've done a good job of showing that side. And I really feel like they showed the genuine concern at the end of this episode whenever he sees that Liz lied to them about the phone number. Like, he managed to piece it all together because it all made sense as to what happened. And he found out what's going on. He found out what Liz was doing has nothing to do with Reddington, so she was doing something for herself. Figured all that out and just blatantly asked her, like, what's going on? And even though I don't think he's happy with her answer, he's willing to do it because I think he genuinely cares for her. And he wants to see her not get hurt. And of course, if he goes and tells Cooper what's going on, she's going to lose her job. She's going to lose her spot on the task force, because if she can't be trusted to work on the task force, she will not be on there anymore. So there's still that element of trust where with Reddington, he had worked so hard to build up the trust between him and Wrestler, and then I think last season sort of broke that trust to where now he doesn't really want to work with him anymore. So it's really interesting to see the kind of the dichotomy between the two. Finding out Reddington's lying about something or not telling them the whole truth, and then finding out Liz is not telling him the whole truth. It's the different of reaction. One, he just straight up asks her and gives her the benefit of the doubt, whereas Reddington, because he already didn't really like him before, as soon as that trust was broken, it's broken, and he can't really win it back. Every single thing he does, he's questioning it. So I really like what they're doing with Wrestler as far as that's concerned. It's something that I haven't really talked about because it's been very kind of under the radar as far as the episodes are concerned. But this one, it kind of really stood out whenever there was the difference between the two reactions. As far as Reddington's concerned, though, he going to this mental hospital, I thought it could have been a little bit more interesting to see, I guess, him in a mental hospital. Like, that in and of itself is already a very interesting idea and something that could lead to a lot of fun. But I feel like they didn't spend a whole lot of time there. A lot of the time was just spent with him trying to talk to his friend and get the information that he needs. I don't know who this General Shiro person is, and I don't know how they're going to help Reddington as far as the trial is concerned. But yeah, he's trying to basically get out of the situation, and this guy knows somebody that will help him with that. And that's basically all it was this episode, is him getting this guy out of his basically catatonic state because of all the drugs and getting that name, and that's all it was. But I really feel like they could have done a bit more, because they had that one really good scene with the doctor where she basically calls him out. She has been asking him all these questions, and she basically just tells it like it is. He's leading two lives. He's pretending to be somebody he's not, which we know is true. But we didn't get any more. That was really all we got. And I thought it would have been really interesting to see more back and forth between the two. But instead we just got a couple jokes here and there, and then the rest of the time was just spent with him talking to his friend and, working him out of his catatonic state. So, yeah, I just thought that was a bit of a missed opportunity. But it was still fun. It was still enjoyable to see those moments with him and the doctor. And I think that's about it. We're building up to the next episode, whoever this General Shiro person is and how they're going to play into it. It was kind of, I always wonder, like, because they have the name of the person at the title of the episode, and then they have, like, the number that's on the blacklist. And it really is funny sometimes because, like, the guy tells him General Shiro, and he's like, General Shiro. Like, he's never heard of the name. And then he talks to Dembe at the end. He's like, he's the next one on the blacklist. I'm like, wait, so you do know who General Shiro is, I guess. And some of the ones that are just like, it seems like the person just started doing something, or they just started being a criminal recently, even though he's supposedly had this blacklist the whole time, and somehow they have a number on the blacklist. I'm just like, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. But I mean, it is what it is. It's a show. Of course, they're not going to have every single name on the blacklist like found out before the show starts, because that would be ridiculous. I do think they have some in mind, though. I think they have some names. Like, I think Dembe was on the blacklist, and Mr. Kaplan was on the blacklist as well. I think they knew that those would be somewhere on the blacklist and they would be high up. I honestly think Reddington himself is number one. I'm pretty sure we haven't seen number one yet. But I would not be surprised if he was number one. And it doesn't say Raymond Reddington. It probably says his actual name, because I wouldn't be surprised if he put himself at the top of it, because I don't know what his whole plan was. I don't understand like what he planned to do, but I'm sure at the end of all of it, he put himself at the top to just say, yeah, I'll be the last one to go down on this thing. So that's kind of the theory that I've had for a while now for the past couple seasons that I've watched, but I don't think it's been confirmed or denied whether or not his name, or, if the number one spot has already been filled, then obviously that would prove I'm wrong. But yeah, I'll be curious to see. More we go into it, the more that we deal with the blacklist itself and the people on it. It will be interesting to see the names that he puts on there. How do they play into everything? And really, is there a bigger purpose for the blacklist as a whole, or are they just a bunch of names of criminals and he picks and chooses who they take down next? I don't know. I'm really interested to see, though, what they have planned. But as far as this season is concerned, it's definitely kicked off pretty well. I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about Reddington being in prison and all of this. It's definitely a change of form, because it's not just the team taking on bad guys. Now they've got this whole thing with Reddington to deal with. So it is very different, but I feel like they've been handling it well. They've been doing a good job of really keeping me guessing as far as how long they were going to take this trial and kind of what steps were going to be taken in the process. Honestly, I don't even know. Is he going to get away with it, or is he going to just start working from inside the prison and he's going to manage to get away without the death penalty? I don't know. I really don't know what to expect from here on out, but I'm excited. It's got my interest and it's got my attention. So, yeah, that's it for these 3 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 3? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Blacklist reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.